Michella Chester here with NCAA Digital. The D1 softball NCAA tournament field has just been unveiled. I've got D1 softball's Tara Henry here with me today to break it down. Tara, biggest takeaways from the bracket. What do you think of the tournament this year?
Biggest takeaway, I'm actually really proud of the committee. That's all I'm going to say. I am ecstatic that UCF is hosting, and I think they did the right thing, and I'm really proud of the committee. I don't know that I've ever said that in all of the years that I've been involved in Division I softball, but biggest takeaway, I'm proud of the committee.
What is the biggest surprise? You're really happy. There's a lot of parity, obviously, but what was the biggest surprise out of the 64 teams in the top 16 seeds?
Biggest surprise, Arizona State. And they're in the top 8. They got the 8 seed, but when UCLA, Bama, and Oklahoma State were all announced before them, you got to feel for the Sun Devils. They did everything they could. They won the Pac-12. I think they got slighted a little bit, and that was probably the biggest shock for me.
There's 4 first-time hosts in the tournament this year. You've got UCF, Virginia Tech, Duke, and Clemson. 3 of those are ACC teams. What do you think of that and just the dominance of the ACC in the bracket?
We've been talking about the ACC all year long, and we thought they would have that many hosting, and here we go. We've got them all on the East Coast hosting those 4 regionals. Not surprised, to say the least. And Virginia Tech, Florida State. I mean, you can never count Florida State out. I'm a big fan. They play big. They've been playing big on television all year long. And then you got Duke, and then like I said, UCF. I'm happy that they're hosting as well. I'm just going to keep saying that because I'm pretty happy about it.
So obviously they were pretty happy too. They had that big reaction when it was announced. Why are you happy that they're a top 16 seed? Why do you think they deserved it?
They put in the work. They had the strength of schedule, and normally the committee does not really commend the non-Power 5 programs. And I think we kind of took a step back, and you look at a Texas, and they've got the history, and we thought that maybe Texas would get that, or a Michigan as well. But Michigan, they got sent to UCF. So I think the committee actually watched games this year, and I think they did their homework. And with that said, it's going to be a fun year, and gosh, I just can't wait for the games to get started.
Is there anyone that you think missed out in any way, got snubbed? I know you mentioned Arizona State. You wish they were a little bit higher, but anything in the top 16 that wasn't in there that you think should have been?
In the top 16, no, I don't think so. I think they got it right. In terms of the field, I'm a little surprised that Arizona got in over Utah. I think, again, it's one of those history things. I think Utah played OU really tight. They beat UCLA. They had the wins. So again, I was surprised not to see Utah. Other than that, I think the committee did a pretty good job.
Well, let's talk about some of the actual regionals. Obviously, a lot of competition in all of them. Is there one that you think is the toughest?
I think Tempe. I think Arizona State, Cal State Fullerton, San Diego State, and LSU. We've said this all along. Wherever LSU goes, it's going to be a tough regional, and I think that's probably the toughest regional out of the 16. As I take a look and first glance, I'm going with Tempe.
2 that stood out to me, Tara. Virginia Tech has Kentucky. They're the number 3 overall seed. Kentucky's ranked in your top 16 for the D1 softball top 25. Also, Washington, they've got Texas. You said they could have been a top 16 seed as well. What do you think of those regionals?
I think that Kentucky, Virginia Tech regional is going to be tough. I got St. Francis and Miami of Ohio there. I think Kentucky, in terms of pitching, they don't have that particular ace. They've got a lot of two-way players that are incredibly athletic. And if Keely Richard and Emma Lemley are on, they're just real. The Hokies are tough to beat. If you look at Washington, Weber State, Lehigh, and Texas, again, that is another tough regional. And Gabby Plain, the last couple of weeks, she's in Gabby Plain form. I think they're a tough team, Washington, to beat at home in Seattle. I don't quite know if Texas can do it, but if anybody can, it's going to maybe be the Longhorns because, they're another team that you're not quite sure who's going to show up that day.
Right. How about the easiest path? Who's got a pretty smooth sailing regional?
You know, uh, Tuscaloosa. You got Alabama, Chattanooga, Stanford, and Murray State. I remember we did a live show, and as that regional was announced, I was shocked, and I think that's a good path for Bama. I don't think there's going to be that big of a challenge for them there, and uh, gosh, that would be probably the easiest in my opinion right now.
So now that you've seen the bracket, I want to ask you a tough one. Can you pick a surprise Women's College World Series team? I mean, we had JMU last year. You see the path they're going to have to take. Who would you take?
We're going mid-major here. Is that what you
Yeah,
got
just
your
like a team that you wouldn't expect to make it. Maybe it's not a given, but they can make it.
Louisiana. I think they could possibly get out of that regional with Clemson. They've got to take on Oklahoma State, so that might be a little bit tough for them. But I'll go with the Raging Cajuns. I think Louisiana could make a run for it.
All right. Well, Tara, thank you so much for breaking it down. Appreciate your time as always, and hope to see you soon at the College World Series.
Oh, I'll see you in OKC. Thanks so much for having me, Michaela.